When I was a kid, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was the show that captivated me. My earliest memory is walking over to our big old 80s TV VCR and pressing the power button and watching as the Green Ranger slowly faded on the screen. I can't remember what my first exposure to Power Rangers was, but it was definitely something Mighty Morphin. I had 4 6-hour blank tapes filled with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episodes my grandparents recorded, and I cherished those tapes. I still have them. Of course, Power Rangers isn't just a show, it was a toy line. I had a bunch of monsters, Happy Meal toys, and little rubber eraser figurines. There were even a couple books. The one I remember best is an old pop-up book about Trini getting kidnapped by the bad guys. I didn't see the movie in theaters, but we rented the VHS a few times from the local video store, before I found a copy at a yard sale we'd gone to after my Cub Scout Pinewood Derby race. I loved Ninjor. I thought he was the coolest thing ever. I didn't have a official Ninjor toy, but I had a little bluish-purple rubber ninja toy from a gumball machine that I pretended was Ninjor. I remember warm, sunny summer mornings watching Alien Rangers. Zeo came next, and that surprised me as a kid. It didn't feel too sudden a change, though. It felt like the right time for change. Then came Turbo and In Space, and at long last, the original story about 5 teenagers recruited by a space wizard to fight a space witch came to an end. Lost Galaxy came next and showed that the show would continue whether or not any Mighty Morphin characters were sticking around. Lost Galaxy had a couple hangers-on from Mighty Morphin, but it was largely its own show. This continued on for quite a while. It's like if the Halloween film series actually went through with its original intention of being an anthology after Part 2. Around the time of Lightspeed Rescue and Time Force, Mighty Morphin was a memory. No one thought it would come back. Wild Force would be the series' 10th anniversary. To celebrate, we got the monumental episode Forever Red. Jason and Tommy returned, leading a team of nearly every past Red Ranger. It was mind-blowing as an 11-year-old seeing that. After that, it was back to business as usual. Each season came out and was more or less its own thing. Dino Thunder brought Tommy back, but he felt completely different. He didn't feel at all like the same Tommy. There were Mighty Morphin references here and there, but it was very restrained. Rita returned as the Mystic Mother in Mystic Force, and was promptly ignored for the rest of the show, but would pop up occasionally in the Boom comics. Operation Overdrive was the next anniversary season, and had its own 2-part anniversary episode, Once a Ranger. Adam returned, and we discovered Rita and Zed had a son. Other than that, not much Mighty Morphin influence. Around this time, nostalgia for Mighty Morphin started being acknowledged in the merchandise. Super Legends is what it was called. I remember seeing a coloring book with Rangers and Zords from across the whole series. There were toys of Tommy in green and white, a Zed, a gold Jason, and later a Titanium Ranger and green Samurai Ninja Storm Ranger. There were 2 Super Legends video games, both of which brought back old heroes and villains. The PS2 and PC version had Lord Zed, the DS version had Gluto. A few years later, something weird happened. There was no new Power Ranger season. Instead, we got Mighty Morphin again, just with new effects added. Kinda weird. I wasn't following the franchise that closely at the time, so I didn't know there wasn't any actual new season. Bandai made a whole line of Mighty Morphin toys to coincide with the glorified reruns. The toys ranged from the standard to the bizarre. There was a head-flipping Black Ranger whose alternate head was a white-skinned face hidden behind a generic ninja mask. I don't know if these actually got released, but there were also Rangers that transformed into dragons. Another odd toy was a dragon dagger that was intended to be held by the blade, with a lightsaber-style extending plastic thing coming out the bottom of the handle. Was someone at Bandai on drugs or something? An actually new season followed, Samurai. It was the closest Power Rangers ever stuck to its Sentai counterpart, but also had a lot of Mighty Morphin references. It was Saban's return to the franchise, and they were feeling nostalgic, I guess. The old theme song came back, Bulk and Skull came back, it was kinda cool at the time. The next season would be the 20th anniversary, and Saban took every opportunity to promote that fact. There were cards, toys, DVDs, video games, even news shows and entertainment magazines covered the event. Paper Cuts made comics for Samurai and Megaforce and followed them up with Mighty Morphin comics. No Super Megaforce. Instead, they chose to go backwards. The 21st season, surprisingly, held back on referencing Mighty Morphin. The old suits popped up here and there, and Tommy was in the last episode. The next season was weird. Not the season itself, but how it was chosen. Up to then, each Power Rangers season adapted the next Sentai season in chronological order. For season 22, though, the corresponding Sentai season was skipped in favor of one with superficial similarity to Mighty Morphin's dinosaur aesthetic. This was Dino Charge. While it had little in common with Mighty Morphin, it was clear that the reason it was chosen was purely the dinosaur association. Around this time is when Boom Comics started making their own Power Rangers comics, which were a Mighty Morphin reboot. Rumors of a movie had been going around for a while, and we started getting cast, crew, and story information. It was also going to be a Mighty Morphin reboot. The next season, after Dino Charge, once again skipped around which Sentai it adapted, and we got Ninja Steel. Ninja Steel was set in a high school, with a duo of goofy guys that got a lot of screen time. The Mighty Morphin influence was pretty blatant. The 2017 movie eventually came out and was a well-made film, but wasn't what most fans or critics wanted. It was determined to be a flop. It modernized the characters from Mighty Morphin and took some darker turns with their version of Rita. She murders a guy and uses part of his jawbone for her staff. Boom Comics made a sequel to the movie, and it was fine, but tried way too hard not to get in the way of a potential sequel. Tommy isn't included, and the villains aren't based on anything from the franchise. Bandai started a collector's toy line called the Legacy Collection. It was short-lived, but released all the Mighty Morphin and 2017 movie Rangers, along with Zeo, In Space, and Ninja Storm Rangers. The 25th anniversary rolled around, and we got a single-episode team-up, Dimensions in Danger. Tommy once again returned, though this appearance celebrated his legacy throughout the series more than past appearances. His Falcon Zord even makes a cameo. Rocky came back as well, along with Kat, though she only uses her turbo powers for some reason. Hasbro bought the franchise for a hefty sum, and their first season would adapt the first Skip Sentai series into Beast Morphers. Toys were revealed, and fans were optimistic. Unlike Saban, Hasbro didn't appear to have nostalgic fondness for Mighty Morphin, and it looked like they'd ease up on its influences. They also began the Lightning Collection toy line, which throughout its lifespan covered many characters across many seasons. In particular, though, they over-focused on Mighty Morphin. Some made sense, Ninja Rangers, metallic armor, Dragon Shield variants, but then it got weird. We got some very odd variants, including a cell-shaded Pink Ranger. It's a Pink Ranger with white stripes applied randomly to the figure. There were figures based on the TMNT crossover comic, Street Fighter fusion figures, but most bizarre were Karate Kid fusion figures. Hasbro's first Power Ranger season avoided heavy Mighty Morphin influence, but held over quite a few bad habits from the prior few seasons, like forced comedic scenes with a bumbling duo. Jason returned in a messy team-up with some Dino Charge Rangers to fight a new version of Goldar, voiced by someone who couldn't really do the voice. The Boom comics were well into their run and were easily the most popular part of the franchise presently with fans. We had miniseries and spin-offs, most of which were just more Mighty Morphin. The first miniseries was Pink. It followed Kimberly teaming up with Zack and Trini to fight off an alien invasion, and ends with her writing the breakup letter to Tommy from Zeo. Yeah, really. Surprisingly, for the next season of the show, Hasbro skipped ahead to the, at the time, most recent Sentai season, which had a dinosaur motif. Like Dino Charge, it had little in common with Mighty Morphin besides its aesthetic. The obscure Morphin Masters make an appearance, though with more influence from the comics than Mighty Morphin itself. Lord Zed returns, gets forgotten about for a long time, and then comes back again, only to get whisked away to another planet so he can be in the next season. A relative of Lokar from Mighty Morphin also shows up. Hasbro gave up on its toy lines for some reason and handed toy responsibilities to another company, Playmates Toys, who announced they'd be doing exclusively Mighty Morphin Season 1 toys. The 30th anniversary special, Once and Always, premiered on Netflix. It was all about Trini's daughter Min taking over as the Yellow Ranger after her mother is murdered by a cyborg Rita. Okay. Many past cast members returned, including Karen Ashley, Aisha, a Yellow Ranger. She and Adam are stuck in outer space for nearly the whole thing, making me think they were just included as afterthoughts. I don't think the crew even remembered Aisha was a Yellow Ranger. Rocky is there, but only because Austin St. John couldn't leave the US due to legal reasons. Jason Frank turned down the offer to return. The final season of the show aired on Netflix. Billy returns as the mentor of sorts for the Dino Fury team. Lord Zed comes back again and is unfortunately a pretty generic villain. The show ended, and now we have mainly just the Boom comics, which are all Mighty Morphin or Mighty Morphin adjacent. The only exceptions are the Time Force graphic novel Sins of the Future, Ranger Academy, and Infinity. Ranger Academy and Infinity are almost entirely original, with almost no pre-existing characters. I gave up on the comics for the most part after Nusagi Ojimbo team-up completely ignored the Samurai Rangers. Playmates started a remastered Mighty Morphin show called Reignition. It's just a weak AI filter with bad AI bits tacked on here and there. Shockingly less necessary than Disney's 2010 remaster. Toys and non-toy merchandise is pretty much exclusively Mighty Morphin. Here's the annoying thing. It's all the same stuff over and over. We get the same couple Rangers over and over. Sometimes we don't even get a full team. When I was a kid, it drove me crazy not having a whole team in one toy line. Jada Toys, the ones who put out the cool metal figurine set, also released a line of metal Mighty Morphin Rangers who each came with a car. The cars were seemingly random. No rad bug, no turbo vehicles, just random cars. The Red Ranger comes with a Nissan, which reminds me of Zyuranger and Geki yelling, "Nissan!" to Barai.
Nissan? Nissan! 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 Nissan!
A year or two ago, when Hasbro decided to just drop Power Rangers altogether and give fans no information or explanation, Dollar Tree suddenly got in an odd set of bean-shaped Mighty Morphin toys. There was a green, red, and black Ranger, and that was it, just those three. Why not the whole team? They wouldn't even require extra effort. All the Pod Pals toys are just the same, with only different colored printing on them. Earlier, Dollar Tree had a line of fairly decent figurines, Mighty Morphin of course, but with the extremely odd exception of a Yellow Ranger. Tommy was included in his Green Ranger suit, so there were 5 figurines and no Yellow. I could understand leaving out Tommy since he came a little later in the show, but Yellow? If they'd wanted to include Tommy purely for his popularity, why not make the figures in the line other popular Rangers? We could have had Jen, Cam, Doggy, Jaden, Coda. Some variety would have created a ton of buzz in the fandom and been a more interesting and appealing toy line for kids. As it is, fans ignored it, and kids are wondering why there's no Yellow Ranger. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie recently had its 30th anniversary and got some Funko Pops, which are thankfully not associated with NFT scams and don't feature Funko's ugly mascot as Ivan Ooze this time. Funko has made figures for nearly every property under the sun, so it is a little weird they haven't ventured far outside Mighty Morphin when it comes to Power Rangers. The only time seems to be the recent Tommy-centric figures, which still has a connection. There's only those toys because Tommy was also in Mighty Morphin. TJ isn't getting a toy from some random third party, it's Tommy. There's been some odd collabs in the past, but one of the weirdest has to be the Thomas the Tank Engine minis. Various Thomas characters were repainted as Mighty Morphin characters. What made these stand out a bit was that they didn't just do the Rangers, but the bad guys too. Speaking of preschool targeted toys, Imaginext. I miss Imaginext so much. They did some standard Ranger figures, and those were fine, but what was really cool was their assortment of Zords and villains. They were the first, and so far only toy line to release every main Season 1 villain in the same scale. Rita, Goldar, Finster, Squat and Babu, and even Scorpina. Putties came in packs of 3s, and somehow were the most rare figures from the line, apparently. We also got Z-Putties and Zed, and even some one-off monsters. There was a deluxe Terror Toad, repainted from an unrelated toy, but still cool. We did get a couple oddball 2-packs of Rangers with generic monster repaints. The Anubis at least could kind of pass for Genie Monster, maybe. King Sphinx, Prontus Head, and we were going to get Cyclopsis, but then Hasbro decided to just cancel all that. Hasbro at least tried, pathetically, to replace the line with something similar, Playskool. Playskool didn't get far, and its Mighty Morphin motorcycles clogged up clearance aisles and dollar stores for years afterward. You can probably still find them in some stores. The line died quickly due to being released in 2020, and on top of that, being hard to find at all, period. They made a giant Wild Force Megazord, and that was kinda cool. Too bad they had zero faith in the line. There was some variety. My favorite figure in the line was definitely Sledge. Unfortunately, they didn't complete a single team or group of villains. Maybe that was foreshadowing for the Lightning Collection. Super 7's Ultimates line did Mighty Morphin. We got Rangers, Zords, Villains. These were cool, but expensive. Low sales led to the cancellation of a Madame Woe figure, which ironically was the only one I really wanted. The figures themselves are usually the least interesting thing with their releases as well, with the accessories far and away being the main draw. Trini comes with a little Mr. Tickle Sneezer doll. Shockingly, Super 7 are the first toy line since the minifigures way back from the 90s to do toys of Bulk and Skull. I don't know why in the world it took nearly 3 decades to get toys of the most popular characters in the franchise. Samurai got Mega Blocks and Squinkies of Bulk and Spike, but no Skull. The comedic duo characters, by the way, rarely got toys or merchandise of any kind. Ninja Steel's Victor and Monty were featured heavily in nearly every episode of their seasons. Beast Morphers had Ben and Betty, Dino Fury had Jane and Jayborg. These characters must have been popular, otherwise they wouldn't have kept doing them, right? Right? Back to Super 7, they also do a line called Reaction. Reaction is styled to be retro and features simplistic sculpts and basic articulation. For what they are, they're also pretty overpriced, especially for the Ranger figures that are about the same quality as the Happy Meal toys. The bad guys at least have decent paint jobs, except Babu, who's all blue, dabba-dee, dabba-dum. Unfortunately, they couldn't quite finish the whole group of bad guys like Imaginext did. The Reaction line had some nice Zords, limited articulation, but they looked nice and scaled with other figures from other lines. Hasbro did a short-lived line of retro Megazords. There were a few neat figures, a repaint, resculpt of their Ninjor for NinjaCon, and the Lost Galaxy Megazord. Everything else was Mighty Morphin, and the line died. It couldn't be that the market was oversaturated with Mighty Morphin stuff, could it? Playmates is the one doing toys now, because Hasbro can't be bothered. They've got their hands full with Transformers or something. Playmates, unfortunately, seems dead set on focusing on Mighty Morphin 1 season per year. I wouldn't be so disappointed if their offerings weren't also underwhelming and standard. I get having Mighty Morphin toys around, but did we need multiple lines of the same 6 Rangers? There is a line of bad guys, but I'm unimpressed. What'll they do next year? Lord Zed is the only new main villain in Season 2. Will they do one-off monsters? I'd be on board with that as long as the paint jobs don't dip into Ninja Steel levels. Season 3 of Mighty Morphin is what I want to see. Rito is one of my favorite characters, but he's often ignored due to coming in so late in Mighty Morphin's run. Ninjor also. 2 current productions are most likely going to be Mighty Morphin. A web series with comic influence is being made in Utah with some cast members from the old Power Rangers Kids YouTube channel. At the very least, it looks kinda cool. It's possibly not going to be entirely Mighty Morphin focused, since Carl Zichter, the bad guy from VR Troopers, is involved in some capacity. The other is being shot in the UK, possibly London. Not much information to go on at the moment, but it's likely going to be yet another Mighty Morphin thing. It's disappointing that a series that continued successfully for so long appears to be backpedaling. The comics at least are trying new things, though I haven't liked much of it. Maybe they'll do something I like in the future, but I've pretty much given up on them. I'll check it out if they do an anthology or if it's something not directly Mighty Morphin related. So yeah, I admit, I do kind of want to get the Playmates, Squat, and Babu toys. I want to see the new web series and the British thing. I'm optimistic. I think the franchise is strong enough to survive this dry period. Honestly, Disney outright hated it, Nickelodeon and Neo Saban acted like they'd never made or aired TV shows before, and Hasbro's handling has just been bafflingly unpredictable. Power Rangers survived through all of this, and I don't think it's gonna die yet, at least not until someone gets off their ass and just distributes Sentai over here, dubbed or subbed or whatever regularly. So, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.
New from Power Rangers, Rita Repulsa's causing trouble.
It's Morphin Megazord time!
Wow, dude.
Morphin Megazord